Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today in this video we're going to go over removing and replacing a valve cover gasket on a 2002 through 2006 Honda CRV. This one is a 2002 that we're working on. They do have a 2.4 liter 4-cylinder motor in them. This is a K24. As you can see, I'm back over at my buddy Danny's, and we had this vehicle up on his lift in his shop, and it's been parked here for about 24 hours, and it has leaked quite a bit of oil. It drips a little bit when it's not running, but when it's running, it's definitely pumping it out of the valve cover on the back of it. So we've already kind of cleaned up the top and the back side a little bit. We'll show you that here in a second, but just wanted to give you some undershots there if anybody's ever interested in what it actually looks like underneath of the vehicle. That's what it looks like. This is the all-wheel drive version. They do make a front-wheel drive version in this too, but the procedure is going to be the same. Cleaned a lot of this up, but it definitely was leaking on the right corner a lot. Okay, the first step for this process is there's going to be two 10mm bolts holding this plastic shield down, and you're going to want to remove those. And that just lifts right up on out of there. Get a little better look here at the valve cover. Step will be your spark plug holder, tie down, whatever you want to call it there, but there's 4 10mm on that. We'll take that off to gain access to the bolts underneath. We want to remove these bolts. This bolt actually started bringing the stud up with it, so we actually got it up high enough to where we can put a 10mm wrench underneath and hold down and hold the stud, and then release the nut on top. You don't have to do it while it's in the car. You can actually, when you remove that piece out of there, you can do it when it's on there. But we wanted to fix that before we put it back in. So the next step, you'll remove the 4 tie downs to your spark plug coils. This one, actually, that's the stud that came out with that top cover there. So when it goes back together, you'll just have to remember to put on the second hole your stud, and it's the first hole on the right side that gets the stud for future. Those bolts, you will lift up each individual one out of the cylinder itself, and then unplug it from each individual coil, and you can turn the top part of the spark plug harness up and out of the way. See, you can get it up that far, but then you're going to have to start taking out the bolts in the back of the valve cover. This one over here, your power steering line gets in the way. A total of 7 bolts at this part in the process that you'll have to remove. That'll be these 3 front ones. This one here, that one he's taken out, and then there's 2 more back here in the back. Everything so far has been a 10mm. Job easier, you might need a swivel or a swivel socket to get on that bolt, since that bracket's in your way. At this point, you can roll the harness back for your spark plug coils. So in my other videos, you've seen this tool. Now you get to see what this tool does in action. So this is a hose clamp tool for a pinch style hose clamp. You're going to need to remove your airbox breather what this thing does is it clamps on to that, and you can move, like he's doing, you can move the hose clamp off of it. Step, we'll take the airbox apart. You're going to need a 8mm or a Phillips screwdriver for this. The reason why we're taking this out of the way is so that we don't break this tube. Pull it off. Take your 8mm off. You should be able to separate your airbox to the side. You don't necessarily have to take it all the way out of there. It may make it easier. We're just going to move it to the side. Get to this spot. You're almost ready to remove the valve cover. But what you'll want to do is just make sure that you don't have any loose debris that's going to fall in there. It's just going to cause that much more cleanup time when you go to do that. So you could blow it out. You can use brake clean. We're going to clean this up with a little bit of air and brake clean and make it a lot easier for us. You're going to want to remove your dipstick before you go removing your valve cover. You need to have some persuasion, a good dead blow, or mallet at this point, to break the seal. Even though this thing is leaking, it's still sealed up in the front. Pulling the cap seals off will make it a lot easier on getting this valve cover off also. Once you hit it with a dead blow, it should loosen up and lift right off. Also use something that doesn't have a very damaging end on it to help assist lifting this up. Just don't pry against any surface that's actually going to have the seal itself sealing against it. Side note, you have two cables to your throttle body that go there. You can remove them out of the holders and pull them back. I got one removed right now, I got to get the other one. But move them out of the way and it will make your life a lot easier. And if you're wondering, that is actually a factory part number for the valve cover set. And this is actually what the labor times would be. Press this over, you should be able to grab the back of the valve cover, rock it forward towards you, and then rock the corner up to the driver's side of the car and pick straight up and out, and it'll come out of there easy. After you remove the valve cover, is you're going to want to get in there and clean up all of the surface area of where the valve cover gasket meets the cylinder head. You're going to need some good brake clean. You can use the engine degreaser. Sometimes you can use sandpaper, but you don't want to put something real abrasive because you can actually tear up the surface there. I would only use that if you have like some surface rust or something in there, or some kind of buildup that you can't get off with like a plastic razor blade or something. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to clean a really good rag, a good holy sock. Why throw it away? Reuse it as a shop rag. Use this to actually wrap around your hand, spray some cleaner down in there, and remove any of that grease that's down in there, and keep your hand a little cleaner. And actually, it traps the dirt quite well to the sock, as you can see there. So, tricks of the trade. Not everybody's going to do this, but this is something neat, and definitely will help you out while you're doing this. You're going to want to do the same thing where the valve cover gasket sits. We haven't removed this yet, but we will. Remove that out, clean it up, remove any kind of surface rust, corrosion, grease or whatnot on there. The valve cover gasket just lifts right on out of there. It has a track that it sits in. But it's very important, like we said, make sure you clean that track out, because you'll be doing this job again if you don't. Also, in the inside of here are rubber grommets on your valve cover for your spark plugs. Make sure you replace those. Get the kit that has new ones of those in there too. This kit that we have also has this listed in this Felpro. Use a pick to remove these. You don't necessarily have to have a certain name brand, but just a good sturdy pick. That way you can get in underneath the seal and do not damage the sealers. So if there's valve models like this one does, you can use a Pry-bar also to get in there underneath the lip. Usually you can get them out of there pretty easy with just a pick, but this Pry-bar makes the tool 200 times easier. These things are petrified rubber. Again, make sure when you're replacing those also that you clean them up really good with brake clean and wipe them clean of any kind of debris. Good hose down with some brake clean and good old-fashioned air pressure. I'll get most of your stuff cleaned out of it and remove a lot of your debris. After you've got that all nice and clean, you want to go ahead and install your gasket. Now in the Felpro kit for your spark plug boots, or where the coil packs go down, they're going to give you two different sets. The middle set is the original set that we just took off. As you can see, one set has a small hole in the center and a thick lip to it. The other set is tapered. It starts out bigger and then gets smaller at the bottom. This one, we're going to put the tapered ones on. A little force, you can press these in there. You can also use a little bit of silicone spray and lightly glaze these and they'll slide in also. But for the most part, you should be able to push them in by hand. You can also use a socket that is the exact same outer diameter. On a seal driver, like I said, you can use a socket to tap and make sure all of the seals are seated. Let's make sure it's the same size as the outer diameter of the seal, and it's not bigger so that you don't damage the surface around the seal itself. You lay your new gasket around the actual edge of the valve cover. You'll see that there's pre-bent ways. It's pretty self-explanatory on this. Make sure it lays down smooth whenever you're putting it in there. And run your finger back around any edge that's not all the way down in there. It's going to pop out when you're doing this. So you just make sure it fits in there properly, and you shouldn't have any leaks. So at this point, before you put your valve cover back on, you can actually take some brake clean and hose down the back of the engine wherever the oil was leaking down there. We actually did this before we removed the valve cover. I imagine a lot of people aren't going to have a lift that they can lift the car up in the air and spray it down from the bottom, but that's what we did in this case, just so that when we do get back underneath of it, it's going to be dry and we can see if there's anything else that's leaking oil. Now we're going to set the valve cover back on. This can be a little tricky. Just make sure your gasket doesn't fall out in any places or gets hung up on anything when you're putting it in. But you should be able to do the same thing with rocking the back of the valve cover up, and it should slide right down in as you're seeing this. Now what you'll do is you're going to put the seals back over your studs on your valve cover wherever studs are located that you took them off before. Don't worry, when we get done we'll wipe the valve cover off. It's just greasy on top there. The rest of the surface area and stuff where it meets up is clean. It can be a little tight, so you might have to press down a little bit on the valve cover with the new seals when you're installing the acorn nuts back onto the studs. And what we're doing now is just going over the outer bolts and evenly tightening them down in a crisscross pattern. You can actually put, at this point, you can go ahead and put your needle hose back on and use an 8mm air box. Make sure not to over torque these. It does have a plastic nut on the bottom of the air box, and it will stick and make your life miserable when you go to take your air filter out next time. Next, you can reinsert your coil packs back into the valve, top of the valve cover. So at this point, you're going to be putting your bolts back in. Remember from the beginning of the video, the second one over, if you're looking at the top of it here from the left, that one gets your stud, and you skip it with a regular bolt, and then you get a stud on the final one on the driver's side of the vehicle. At this point, we also went ahead and cleaned out the connectors on your clips to the coil packs themselves, and we went ahead and put some dielectric grease into the connecting parts of the clips there. It's a good idea. Keep corrosion out of them. You connect all your connectors to your coils, and then you want to install the cover back on the top there. Remember, they are 10 millimeters. This is very low torque, so you don't have to crank it down. If you don't have a torque wrench, just snug everything. If you do have a torque wrench, I would only go to about 12 foot-pounds. Use a 1/4 inch ratchet if you're afraid of over tightening stuff. Make sure to put your oil dipstick back in and re-secure your front plastic shield that covers the intake manifold up. Also, you want to make sure you get your bolts in your power steering line. It goes back here on the valve cover. Also has a bolt that secures it in there. It's a 10 millimeter. And just double check all of your valve cover bolts before you put your tools away, and make sure everything's nice and snug. Again, there's not really a torque spec that I saw for the valve cover. So in general, when I worked for Honda, stuff was only about 12 to 17 foot-pounds when it was a valve cover. You just don't want to tighten that. That's a really small bolt, and it can strip or break off very easily. This is going to be it on this 2002 to 2006 Honda CRV valve cover gasket exchange. If you like this video and would like to see more of this, please hit the like and subscribe button. If you have any suggestions, put it down in the comments. Thanks again, and we'll see you later.